Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. We start our video with a story about an entitled shopper who thought she could just shove past an elderly woman in line because she was in a hurry. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karen tried to bully an old man at the register. So I was working cash the other day, just going through the usual motions. Things were pretty quiet at the moment. No line, just one older gentleman making his way slowly toward my register. He was using a walker, so he wasn't moving fast, but I wasn't in any rush either. He had this calm, deliberate pace, the kind that told me he was used to moving slow but still wanted to do things for himself. I respected that. Just as he's almost there, literally about 4 feet away from the register, this blonde woman barrels out from one of the aisles and beelines straight for my counter. She barely glances at him, cuts right in front, and drops her basket on the conveyor. She snaps at him, "I'm in a hurry, old man." No joke, no shame, just said it like it was the most normal thing in the world. Now, the guy actually stumbled a little trying to stop abruptly. You could see the look of confusion and hurt on his face, like he couldn't quite believe someone would be that rude to him in broad daylight. I was honestly stunned for a second. The whole thing happened so fast, and this woman was acting like it was completely justified. I looked at her and said, "I'm not going to serve you. You need to wait in line. He's next." She scoffed and rolled her eyes. "I told you, I'm in a hurry. He's going to take forever." I just shrugged. That's not my problem. And that's when she really lost it. She started ranting about how she's a customer and how I have to serve her and how people like her pay my wages and all that typical entitled nonsense. Then she demanded to see a manager. So fine, I smiled and called my manager on the store radio, all while she's still refusing to move away from the register. Meanwhile, the old man, he hasn't said a word, but he's clearly shaken. His hands are trembling a bit, and he looks really tired. Like this whole thing is just too much. So I gently help him sit down on the little bench we keep near the front for situations just like this. By the time my manager arrives, the tension is so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. The woman immediately launches into her story, talking over me and saying I'm refusing to serve her and how it's unacceptable customer service and so on. My manager gives me this look like, what's really going on here? So I explain, this woman just walked up, pushed past the man, and refused to wait in line. My manager turns and looks at the older man, then she looks at the woman, back to me, then right back to the woman. And then she just says very calmly, "Get out of my store, right now." The woman looked like someone had just slapped her across the face with a wet towel, totally blindsided. You could tell she genuinely didn't understand how she could be in the wrong. She opened her mouth like she was about to argue, but then shut it again when she realized my manager wasn't kidding. She huffed, grabbed her basket, and stormed out, mumbling under her breath. Once she was gone, I went back to the gentleman, helped him back up, and rang up his items as calmly and politely as I could. He was still a bit shaken, but managed to smile. When we finished, I helped him carry his bag and walked him outside to wait for his cab. Before he got in, he turned to me and said, "Thank you, young man. You really didn't have to do that, but I appreciate it more than you know. It means a lot." I told him it was no problem at all and wished him a good day. He smiled, climbed into the cab, and left. And you know what? That whole thing left me feeling really good, like really good. It was one of those rare retail moments where you actually feel like you did something that mattered, even if it was just standing up for someone who couldn't or wouldn't speak up for themselves. It's not always easy keeping your cool, but sometimes it pays off. If there were more managers like that out in the retail world, people like this lady would maybe learn the lessons they were supposed to have learned in preschool. And our second story. I was holding a cupcake and still got asked where the watercolor paper was. So I used to work at an art supply store in a busy Australian shopping center. It was one of those retail jobs that starts out fun because you're surrounded by color and creativity, but eventually wears you down with chaotic shifts, customer drama, and management that favors whoever can kiss the most butt. After months of having my hours cut, picking up the slack for lazy coworkers, and being passed over for any decent shifts, I finally had enough. I quit. And honestly, best decision I've made in a long time. That said, I didn't burn every bridge on the way out. I still get along really well with some of the staff, my old manager, the assistant manager, and one of the casuals who made working there bearable. We still catch up now and then, chat about life, vent about our current jobs, that sort of thing. Last week, I met up with the casual for lunch and a bit of window shopping. Since we were already at the center, we figured we'd stop by the store to say hi to my old manager and assistant manager. They knew I was coming, and because my manager's basically a human cupcake herself, she brought actual cupcakes to celebrate. She handed one to me like I was royalty returning from exile, and I've got to admit, it kind of made my whole day. So there I am, standing halfway down the acrylic paint aisle with this cupcake in one hand and my phone in the other, just checking out all the new stock. I'm wearing black jeans, a sheer white and black polka dot blouse, definitely not uniform material, shiny silver flats, and I got my sunglasses perched on my head like I just walked out of a summer brunch. I'm not even holding a basket, let alone a name tag or lanyard. My old manager had just ducked into the back to grab something, so I'm alone for maybe 30 seconds, and that's when it happens. A woman comes striding confidently down the aisle past two clearly uniformed employees at the front counter, full black outfits, bright blue and yellow aprons, the whole works, and heads straight for me. "Excuse me, do you work here?" I genuinely thought she was joking at first. I actually looked around to see if she meant someone else. Nope, dead serious, looking right at me. Me with cupcake frosting on my fingers, holding a phone, not a single stitch of uniform on. I blinked and gave a small, confused laugh. No, sorry, I used to, but not anymore. She just nodded like that somehow explained everything, muttered a quick thanks, and wandered off to find someone else. I stood there trying to figure out if I give off some kind of weird aura that screams, "Ask me where the watercolor paper is." The funniest part, this isn't even the first time it's happened. I swear, if I so much as pause near a shelf in a store, someone will assume I work there. Retail energy must be hard to shake, even with a cupcake in hand. Like, ma'am, you passed two employees in uniform to approach the one person casually browsing with cupcake frosting on their fingers. The audacity, the precision, the delusion. And our last story. He hated my car so much, he paid for it. Thanks, Kev. I bought my car for $2,000 when I was 16. She's a patchwork masterpiece. One red door, one white fender, the rest some faded blue that might have once been turquoise. She's dented, rusted, and smells faintly of oil and old coffee, but she runs. Over the last decade, I've kept her going with junkyard parts, elbow grease, and YouTube tutorials. No car payment, cheap insurance, reliable in her own quirky way. I'm 26 now, living in a rental unit in a small duplex on a residential street. There's no driveway or garage on my side, so I park on the street. It's legal, marked, and right in front of my place. My neighbor, let's call him Big Kev, owns the house next door with a wide driveway where he parks his enormous lifted truck. The kind you need a stepladder to get into. Kev doesn't like my car. "This bucket makes it hard to pull in," he told me one day, arms crossed over a gut the size of a pony keg. "I got no room to swing out." I offered to shift my car forward or back on the street to give him more room, but that didn't satisfy him. "Nah, man," he grunted, "you shouldn't park there at all." "Well," I replied, gesturing at the curb, "I kind of live here, so unless you've got a driveway I can borrow, I don't have much choice." He muttered something about some people and their trash cars and stomped off. Now, I didn't think much of it at the time, he's grumbled before, but a few days later I was up on my fire escape with a book and an iced coffee, enjoying the rare breeze. That's when I saw it. Kevin backing his truck out of his driveway a little too fast and way too close. Crunch! His rear bumper kissed the side of my car with enough force to rattle the whole chassis. He paused for half a second, then took off like nothing happened. I dropped my book, grabbed my phone, and filmed the whole thing as he sped down the street. I got a clear shot of his truck, license plate and all, and then walked down to check the damage. The side panel was scratched to hell, and there was a nice fresh dent where the bumper had hit. Granted, my car already had the battle scars of 100 parking lots, but I knew every ding and scratch on her like freckles on my own skin. This one was new. At first, I figured I'd let it go. My car's not worth fixing up cosmetically anymore, and I didn't want to start a neighbor war. But the more I thought about it, the more it pissed me off. Kev didn't just hit my car. He knew it was mine. He knew where I lived, and instead of owning it, he just drove off. So I filed a claim with my insurance company and sent them the video. They told me for a hit and run, I'd need to file a police report, so I did that too. It felt weird. I've never filed one before, but I wasn't letting this guy walk away like nothing happened. Couple weeks passed, and then I got the call. My insurance had tracked down his policy, and they were sending me a check for $1,600. Apparently, they valued my car based on the average for that make and model, not based on the Frankenstein I actually drive. I didn't complain. I didn't even fix the car. The dent wasn't that bad, and she still runs just fine. So that $1,600 is now sitting in a savings account, possibly for a vacation or maybe a less junky car down the road. Kev wasn't thrilled. One evening, he stomped up to the porch, red-faced and muttering like a kettle about to blow. I could hear him in the hall, demanding to know which unit was mine. My landlord happened to be doing drywall work in the entryway and didn't even let him get up the stairs. "Unless you're invited," my landlord told him, wiping dust off his hands, "get the hell off my property." Kev stood there for a second, puffing like a bull, and then backed off with a few choice words about snitches and people who can't take a joke. I stayed in my room, door locked, heart pounding a bit. I'll admit it, I didn't go out there. I didn't want the confrontation, and I didn't need to prove anything. Later, I felt a little bad for not stepping out to meet him face to face, like maybe I should have owned it more. But then again, he hit my car and drove off like a coward. So if I was a coward for hiding, I was at least a paid coward with $1,600 in the bank and a running car he can't seem to park around. His complaints about your illegally parked beater were ridiculous, especially since he had a whole driveway for his oversized truck. His attitude reeked of the kind of guy who thinks his property extends to whatever inconveniences him. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.